to another episode of 90s Movies Classics.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Tim, and today we have watched The Truth About Cats and Dogs. Andrew, this was your selection. You talked it up pretty highly last time. I'm very intrigued, having watched it myself as well, to find out your views on it.
I too am intrigued to talk about it. I'll begin with a bit of a recap for punters that have not had the chance to watch it as yet, to give a basic overview of the plot. Basically, the plot is centered around Janeane Garofalo's character, who's a radio vet, who gets a phone call from a guy, Brian, played by Ben Chaplin, who is in need, having some issues with his dog. Brian falls for her voice as a part of this phone call, falls for her mannerisms, but she has really low confidence, and she pretends to be a tall blonde woman, and the deception then extends from there, because this guy, Brian, wants to go on a date with her, and she basically substitutes in her neighbour, played by Uma Thurman, who is a tall blonde woman, to go on the date. Essentially, Brian falls for Janeane Garofalo. Over time, Uma Thurman falls for Brian. Uma Thurman realises her boyfriend is a knob, and romantic confusion amidst comedy ensues. Will the right people end up together at the end of the movie? That is essentially the premise.
Yep, sounds about right to me.
Anything to add? Anything you think I missed that was key?
No, look, I questioned whether there was really comedy in it, but we'll maybe get to that.
Oh, okay, so there's an early shot over the bow.
Spoiler.
Right. So perhaps you'd like to start, since you've jumped to the point already. Overall impressions of the movie?
I found it quite problematic for many of the reasons that I said last time, although they actually were probably a bit more significant than I even remembered. I thought it didn't make any sense, and I didn't think it was particularly funny, but having said that, I thought that both Uma and Janeane Garofalo were really good, did their very best to save the situation, but ultimately I didn't think they could quite bring it home.
Okay, interesting. There's some parallels with my view. I think I'm probably a notch more positive than that, but many of your sentiments I agree with to a lesser extent.
All right, well, let's go with the positives.
The clear positive for me, which you've touched on, is I actually thought all the three leads were excellent.
Yep.
I thought they were all eminently likeable in their own ways.
Yes.
Talented performers, I think, and they actually managed to create romantic comedy characters that one did not hate. For different reasons, they were the guy was just genuinely very likeable, and both the girls, their silliness was very understandable for varying reasons, and they were clearly, good-hearted. So I was able to get behind them wanting there to be a good outcome for all concerned.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought that Ben Chaplin was fine, likeable enough. I didn't love him, but I thought he was all right. And I did think that both Janeane and Uma did actually really quite a good job with something that really could have worked quite badly. In particular, even though my first love is for Janeane, of course, but I thought that Uma did a really good job of a character, because the bimbo character is notoriously hard
difficult,
to do.
Potentially unlikable.
It can be really unlikable, and she managed to, well, whether she or the filmmakers or a combination of the two, managed to create a character who was clearly not educated, I guess arguably not that book smart, but yet still a real character, not a caricature, still really likable in her own way, in her different way to Janeane. And I thought similarly the fact that the relationship between the two girls actually worked really well, which is probably jumping into another positive, which maybe I'll jump in with, which is if someone described what this movie was about, one guy, two women, both sort of interested in the same guy, kind of, you would just assume it was going to be a movie where the two women hated each other and fought the whole time.
Indeed.
Actually, the complete opposite. The fact that they became good friends, valued their friendship arguably over the relationship with the guy, really surprising in a positive way. And I thought that part of it worked really well. The friendship between Uma and Janeane Garofalo worked really well.
I like it. I'm with you. Second key point, though, just a fraction behind. Dogs on roller skates, very funny.
Yeah.
Very funny. As soon as you put a dog on a roller skate, I'm in, okay? Although, probably in that questionable and problematic area in terms of, was there the tag about no animals were mentally harmed?
There was. I did see that. Movie? I did say that.
However, I thought Hank was one of the stories of the movie. Actually, every time Hank was on it, lit up the screen.
Yeah, no, Hank was pretty good. All the animals were good. I do like a movie with animals. This is true.
Don't work with kids or animals.
Yep.
No, animals are fine. Now we probably start to get into the grayer areas. I thought there were some nice touches in terms of the phones. So much of the movie was conducted by phone. Such a flashback to the mid-90s.
Yep.
I thought the ending was pleasant enough. Sounds like maybe you didn't agree with that, but romantic comedies can be sickeningly sweet at the end, and you can any fondness you had for the movie can dissipate amongst candy that rots your teeth. But this was okay, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. The whole getting her on roller skates thing didn't make any sense, but okay, fine. I suppose it was a nice sort of wrap into the start, and yeah, look, I didn't mind it. And I mean, obviously, I wanted them to get together, and I was happy that they did, and Uma's sort of story was fine as well. I mean, she dumped the dodgy guy, we assume. I'm not sure it actually said, but we assume. And she was making the first steps on her career.
Yep.
All good. So, no, the ending was fine.
Thought a couple of scenes were really good. I thought the eating scene where Uma eats the cake.
Oh, yeah.
My partner had particularly remembered that, and it is quite iconic for a model that's been starving herself for years. The sensation of eating cake is basically the greatest ever. And I thought the skin counter scene when she was at the counter and the lady was trying to sell like skin products, that was particularly on point.
Yeah, no, that was not bad. I quite liked the the made up story about being a goat cheese maker.
Oh, that was quite good.
That was quite funny.
Yes. Then I guess we get to where we start to get grayer. I thought there was a few really funny lines from Janeane Garofalo.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I agree. I didn't think it was particularly funny. And I think it particularly started slowly. I was 20 minutes in before I cracked a more than a smile, I think.
Yeah, and in fact, funnily enough, I thought probably the only moment I actually laughed out loud was literally the last line of the movie. Remember the end when they're actually panning off to the credits, and it's that night on the phone, I'm pregnant. Are you sure it was me? I don't know. I made a lot of calls that night.
That's pretty good.
Easily the best line of the movie, and literally the last line of the movie.
I liked rejection kills, disappointment only maims. I thought that was nice. Yeah. Roy is a loser. But I did think they were probably the exception versus my expectations. I'd remembered it being hilariously funny. I did not find it hilariously funny.
Yeah.
I did think that maybe there were some lines that for 1996 rom-coms were actually a bit braver than the subject matter at the time. I don't think your Janeane Garofalo was your conventional 1990s rom-com lead.
Yeah.
They're probably not as edgy now.
No.
But at the time, I think they were probably, that's why I remembered it quite fondly.
I think that's probably right. It's not edgy at all now. In fact, it's more problematic in ways we'll probably go into. But at the time, you're exactly right. It probably did fit the mood of the world, at least in that very specific American 90s way. It probably did fit at the time. And yeah, I agree. There were some lines where I was going, oh yeah, that actually is kind of funny on paper, especially delivered by Janeane, but which just felt a bit weird in 2025.
That's probably all my outrightly positives. I've got some other sort of neither positive nor negative but notables. But maybe let's switch to the downright annoying, the downright irritating. What did you sort of have in that category?
As we said in the last podcast, the obvious problem, which I remember thinking at the time, not just now in 2025, is this movie makes no sense. The entire premise of the movie was that Uma Thurman was almost godlike attractive and Janeane Garofalo was short, fat and ugly, basically was the concept. And the entire, almost the point of the movie, I mean, in some respects it was positive because I guess the moral was you can still get a guy through your personality even if you look like Janeane Garofalo. It was not a particularly nice message in that sense, particularly because Janeane Garofalo is actually really attractive. It feels a bit icky because did the filmmakers in the 90s consider that ugly? Is that how Janeane was being treated? That she gets cast in that role because, hey, we'll put that ugly chick in the role and it'll be really funny. And look, I did a little bit of research into this, and Jean has actually said in hindsight she did feel pretty uncomfortable about that. And said,
okay.
Yeah, she said the concept of being cast as the person so unattractive that she can't be expected to get a man did feel a bit weird at the time.
Interesting, because obviously agree. And was the point that in the 90s people truly thought like that? Or was the point that, I mean, they gave her those absolute Hollywood shots in the photographing scene where she looked, I remember that, where she looked absolutely gorgeous. I was like, even in the 90s, they cannot have thought that was not attractive, surely? So is it actually she was beautiful after all? And that was what they were going for. I mean, I fundamentally agree. It somewhat undermines the movie when she's gorgeous, and Uma Thurman, although striking looking, I don't necessarily think is particularly gorgeous.
Well, particularly when they did absurd things like people falling off their bike because he happened to drive past and see her.
Yes.
You know, things like as if it is literally godlike, sort of shining beauty. I mean, she's a good-looking girl, you know, and they seem to be weirdly obsessed with her height. Like, Janeane Garofalo is like 5'1", Uma's 6 foot. Was that a big thing in the 90s? Were tall women, was that a thing? I don't know.
I think maybe more than we think. You know, women that didn't fit conventional beauty standards got an even tougher time in the 90s. Maybe. Seeing glass half full? Maybe.
Yeah.
So that was fundamentally difficult. I think it tried to be well-intentioned about it, but it's fairly central to the plot. So how exactly you work your way around that is difficult.
Well, I did think, one of the bad examples of this, or it's got an amusing piece of trivia behind it. Do you remember the guy in the shop who Janeane and Uma were talking between themselves, and she said something about her body, and the guy behind the counter goes, "And what a body it is." Creepy line, but funny thing, that was her brother. Uma Thurman's real brother in real life.
Oh, my goodness, that is even creepier. Well, anyway, yes. I just thought it was a little slow.
Yeah.
Like, particularly initially, I think it warmed up, but I did just, like, I don't actually have a sweeping number of negatives. It wasn't the kind of movie that I thought it was particularly bad. It just didn't quite reach great heights. So it was fine. There's quite a bit of fun about it.
Yeah. I guess my other, and this was similar but different to the underlying concerns about just how they look, but also I know there's always an element of you have to suspend disbelief when you're watching these sort of movies. I totally get that, but I mean, it was just utterly ridiculous. Like the suggestion that he wouldn't recognize her voice. I mean, he literally spends 7 hours on the phone with her.
Yes.
You could not be more familiar with her voice, and I think it's the very next day even he meets both Uma and Janeane at the same time, and somehow doesn't pick the fact that, I mean, their voices don't sound similar at all. Like, not even slightly. They don't speak similar. They don't. It became more and more ridiculous as it went on.
I think that's a fair statement. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the whole deception thing, the house thing, her leaning out the window with a towel on her head, He's not super bright if he's not picking up on this, but anyway.
I mean, it very much felt like the sort of twist. This is partially a complaint about the whole movie, that it felt very much like a sitcom. You know, the sort of thing that happens in a sitcom where this sort of wacky misunderstanding that happens. But the thing is, when it all kind of gets wrapped up in 23 minutes, it's okay. You just go, that's fine. I can suspend disbelief at 23 minutes when it's just trying to be a bit funny and that's all you're going for. But they were trying to do a lot more. You know, they were trying to keep us there for 90 minutes and genuinely care about the outcome when just none of it made sense at all.
Jamie Foxx, unpleasant again.
Yeah, indeed.
Like, a special ability to make any movie he's in slightly worse with every scene that he's in.
Agreed.
There may be an exception or two, but I've not run into many of them.
No, although, actually, that does remind me, though, the tortoise or turtle scene was kind of funny.
Okay.
I almost chuckled when she stuck her finger up the tortoise's butt. I thought that was kind of funny.
Critical.
Although I do think they could have made a bit more of it. Yeah, it's one of those scenes that if it was made in 2025, it'd be like a 10-minute scene.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Yeah, she stuck her finger in. Okay,
That's
all right. Yeah.
What else you got? Any other particular concerns?
As the husband of someone who plays the violin, the breaking of her violin bow, that was a really dog act. That cut deep to the core.
I mean, wasn't that the point?
Oh, I know, exactly.
Like Roy was evil. We haven't gone into Roy. Versus the three fundamentally nice people, like starkly evil.
Oh, yeah.
And that just summarised them up, well, together with the yelling and the pushing his girlfriend around, which is quite problematic. But also that.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was not a criticism. That was just, that part got me fired up.
Right, okay.
I remembered the scene where they went and got drunk to try to sort out this.
Let's get shit-faced.
Yeah, that was good.
You did remember it?
That was a good moment. And look, these are not normally the things that I'm very good at picking up on, so I'm interested to hear your views. I mean, I thought the music was kind of bad.
Right.
In the sense of it had a weird tone. It was very boppy and jaunty for most of it. There was also long periods of silence when I maybe felt there shouldn't be silence. I'm one of these people who normally doesn't notice music in a movie at all, and this one it actually actively grated on me.
Interesting, Gilly, because I've noted in our podcast series, regular listeners will know that I comment on the music commonly, and you don't typically. I didn't notice the music bits at all, so that means that nothing jumped out at me as particularly enhancing a scene. No song in isolation particularly grabbed me. Yep. So a par score is probably a minor negative because I do look out for music in movies. So
it didn't look very nice, just as a general statement. And I know movies in the 90s didn't look as nice as they do now. Even your sort of basic rom-com in 2025 looks really nice cinematography and all the rest. But I thought it looked, again, it kind of felt a bit sitcom-y.
Yep.
And weirdly,
did you notice the last scene? Shocking green screen, like unbelievable moment where they just like change the light filter or something.
I didn't specifically, although I was going to comment maybe on a similar point though, that I almost got the impression they realised, oh god, this entire movie is just people talking to each other, mostly in rooms. We better just put them at the beach.
Right.
Yeah, there's no obvious reason to put them at the beach. But in particular, the conversation at the end towards the end between Uma and Janeane, where they were just at the beach, just having this important chat. So, okay, I guess you needed some more scenery, that's fine.
On that note, I thought that the phone sex scene, they put more effort into the phone sex scene than the entire rest of the movie. Like almost to the point where I felt that the idea of the movie was the phone sex scene and they built a movie around it. I thought just what you just said about sort of cinematography reminds me of that. I remember particularly thinking, now they're putting effort into like camera shots and specific dialogue, and it was really lovingly filmed, which made the scene quite engaging, but sort of showed up versus all that came before. I remember my first thought was, well, now you're trying, kind of thing. So
that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about it at the time, but now that you say that, I completely agree.
I mean, further to that, I just had the question, what was the genesis of this movie? Was this a Janeane Garofalo vehicle? Like, was she a big enough star that someone said, and slightly associated with the discomfort, let's write a movie around the fact that she's a not conventionally look beautiful, but secretly beautiful, funny woman?
Well, interesting you say that, because that was my trivia idea. I prefer usually to just let the movie speak for itself, but because of these issues, I did do a bit of research into this, and apparently, no, Janeane Garofalo has been quite vocal about how unhappy she was with the film.
Right.
So apparently it was initially, I don't think she was sort of writing it as such, but she was signed on first. It was an independent movie, and then it was turned into a big studio project when Uma Thurman signed on.
Right.
And apparently once she was signed on, suddenly everything changed. It became a much more traditional big budget movie. She said there was all the complexity to the characters fell away. She said at the end, in the original version, she didn't end up with the guy. So she's not only said she's disowned the film apparently.
Really?
And gone so far as to call it anti-feminist. Well, there you go.
That is quite dark.
But interesting. I mean, she at the same time though was saying, and this hadn't fully occurred to me, that yes, she was in the Larry Sanders Show, but this was very much her big break.
Right.
And still really became her big break, and so it still did make her mainstream and get her career on the road. So she sort of couldn't say no to it and was happy to do it in that sense. But as a movie, ended up being quite unhappy with it. Yeah.
Were radio vets a thing? Doesn't strike me as a logical, like TV vet, you just about get there because animals are cute, so it's basically an opportunity for cute animals to jump around. Really? Do you listen to a radio show about where a vet talks about pets?
Oh, look, as a regular ABC listener, I can say that there is definitely vet shows.
Oh, right.
There is everything. There's gardening shows. There's definitely vet shows. So look, I think it's still a thing. I don't know how big a thing it is, but
very niche.
It did age the movie somewhat, though. The notion that you could be the presenter of a show like this and no one could find your face.
Yep.
I mean, it was a nice moment, the fact that she had a dog and a cat up as her photo on the wall.
Yes.
The mere fact that the only way you could find out was by looking at the photo on the wall was
the face for radio concept doesn't really exist anymore because you're on social media. Brian was in the bar named O'Brien's at the end. Credit to my partner for that one. And I guess my final statement was a little bit of a soft spot for it because we were all a little Janeane.
Yeah.
We were all a little bit lack of confidence, well-meaning, confident in some parts of our lives and non-confident in other parts of our lives. So I admit that I think that's another reason why I probably quite liked it at the time, in that it probably spoke a little bit to the non-confident, perceived as rejected me at that point in time.
Yeah, agreed. I'd go with that. I mean, hence why I was always on the Janeane train rather than the Uma train, because she probably spoke to me more than Uma did.
That's about all I had. Did you have anything else that you think needed to be covered?
No, I don't think I did. Could it? We've sort of answered this already, but could it be made today?
Not in exactly the same form.
No.
Because the central premise would be more obviously offensive. The don't know what she looks like wouldn't work. The not recognising the voice wouldn't fly. So, could a movie be made about a girl somehow substituting in another girl for her? I guess you could do that and explore themes of lack of confidence, but it'd be quite significantly changed.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Duff the other day, and I'm not sure how specific, if this is specifically based on it, but I think it's based on that very famous, really old story, the Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yep.
Which I gather was the inspiration for Roxanne, that Steve
was.
Martin movie.
Yep.
And I think, I did not research this in advance, but didn't Peter Dinklage come out with a movie really quite recently? That was in the last year.
I vaguely recall this.
Yeah, same concept. Obviously a little person, wondering whether he can ever make it with a beautiful woman. So I guess it still continues to be made. I think the issue is Roxanne, you have the big nose. Peter Dinklage has the little person. Janeane Garofalo is just a normal woman.
Yep.
It could be made in a sense, but certainly not in the same way it was. Would you watch it again?
Look, probably there's no burning hunger at the moment, because I can see if I squint why I liked it, but I probably didn't like it as much, and there's not too many surprises there. So I can see myself in 15, 20 years' time going, that was relatively likeable, wasn't it? I'll give that another watch. But probably not until it's faded. Yeah, and look, obviously, given that the only way we could get hold of it was to actually buy it through Google Play, it's now in my library forever. So sooner or later, it's going to happen.
It's going to have to be watched eventually. But no, I agree. I will not be rushing back to it anytime soon. As likable as it was, it just didn't have enough going for it.
Didn't move the needle much.
No,
yep,
exactly.
Agree with that. That's about it then. I think.
Right. I think it
awesome.
is.
Well, I believe the next choice is yours. So I wait with bated breath to what will we be watching next?
Right. Now, this is a movie that has clearly it was inevitably going to be chosen at some stage, and I figured now was the time, if there was ever a time to do it, it had to be now, when the remake or / sequel is literally in the cinemas as we speak. Obviously, we are talking about 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Genius.
Yes. Like I said, we're always going to get to this. This was a classic 90s movie. Having said that, I'm not sure that I've seen it since the 90s. Have you rewatched it at all?
Oh, gee. I suspect it's in the camp of I watched it obsessively in the video store, probably quite late at night, because I think it was quite violent, in a short period of time afterwards, and then have probably not touched it for between 20 and 25 years.
Yeah, and that's basically same as me, I think. We should, just on the off chance, as a single person in the world who isn't familiar with the movie, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Anne Hesh, I don't remember her role, but Ryan Philippe, Freddie Prinze Jr., the key crew of the 90s. I'd semi-forgotten this, that even though this was a big part of it, that of course this was the year after Scream kind of rejuvenated the horror movie genre. And this was written by the same guy, Kevin Williamson.
Yep.
And so this was, in a sense, the spiritual follow-up to Scream. But if I recall correctly, and I might prove to be wrong about this, but Scream was very scary, but also very self-referential and it was, I think you would call it a comedy horror.
Extremely clever.
Yeah, whereas if I recall correctly, I Know What You Did Last Summer was more of a traditional horror, and I remember it being a really effective one, like being actually genuinely really quite scary. Is that your memory?
Yes, within a 90s lens
Interesting.
of, I don't think it's like creeping doom. I think it's probably relatively obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that it rode a bit on the coattails of Scream, which was a genuinely clever movie, and it went, same writer, zeitgeist of the time, 4 absurdly attractive lead characters, this will be a hit.
Yep.
And to that degree, it was a hit. I don't think it probably gave much more than what's on the box. I don't recall any particular genius. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't think there are too many treats there.
Interesting. I've got slightly higher expectations than that. I don't remember it being anything clever in the vicinity of Scream, but I just remember the horror when it hit being really quite effective and pretty consistently through, not just sort of 1 or 2 good scenes, but pretty consistently. Now, having said that, I actually don't remember much about it at all. I remember the opening scene, or the thing that gets it all started on the road, and I won't do any spoilers for the moment in case people are going to go watch it, but the Sarah Michelle Gellar scene I remember very clearly.
Remember that?
And then I vaguely recall the finale is on a boat, but that's about it. I don't recall anything about who the baddie is or anything about the twist or anything. I'm assuming there is a twist. I can assume that Jennifer Love Hewitt and and Freddie Prinze Jr. get out of it alive because they are in the one that's just come out, just come out recently. But yeah, that's about the extent that I remember it. So I'm quite looking forward to it because one of these movies has been on my list to rewatch for ages, but yeah, just for whatever reason, never got around to it, and I've possibly built it up as being better than it is, but we will see. We'll see if it is the new truth about cats and dogs, or if it is actually going to be as good as I remember it.
Was it 1998?
97.
97, so it really was right on the tail end of Scream. First season of Buffy.
Yep.
Because Sarah Michelle Gellar was actually the kind of the lesser star in it, I think.
Yeah.
Post Party of 5, I guess. So that's where Jennifer Love, or in the middle of Party of 5. Yep. Where would Ryan Philippe have been at the time?
As far as I can tell, it was his first big movie.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. And led to 5 years of domination for Ryan Philippe before he probably dropped off.
Yep.
And Freddie Prinze, pre or post She's All That? Pre She's All That.
I think that is right.
And is it the movie where Freddie Prinze and Sarah Michelle Gellar got together? Basically the Brad and Jennifer of their era.
I don't know. I'll try to research that between now and then. Yeah, I'm
so
sorry.
much subtext to read.
No, I'm sorry.
Great choice. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Director Jim Gillespie, who meant absolutely nothing to me and has not done an awful lot since. I briefly got excited when I saw he'd done Venom, but it's not the Venom of recent times with Tom Hardy. It's a 2005 Venom that I'd never heard of.
Right.
There is, of course, in addition to the I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, there was the follow-up.
The sequel?
I Still Know What I Did Last Summer. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, I think the very next year, in fact. They smashed it out in 98.
They got it out pretty quickly with Brandy in it.
Okay. Actually, that sounds familiar. I was trying to remember if I had actually seen it, but the mention of Brandy suggests that I possibly have.
I think it was a pale shadow, pale imitation, I believe.
It did at least make it to cinema, though, right? It wasn't just a straight-to-video or anything, okay. Yeah.
Which clearly suggests that the first one was enough of a hit that they felt there was still an audience, so maybe it's sold.
Yeah. So yes, I'm looking forward to that one.
Outstanding. Bring it on.
Excellent. Until next time.
Cheers.